This week, we're talking about the reading renaissance in an episode better known as Pushing a Human Out of Your Hoo-Ha.
Hi, readers. I'm Jordan.
And I'm Katie.
And welcome to Not Another Heroine Season 2, the podcast where we break down the best and worst fictional heroines of any genre. Because that's what we do now.
Want to see what's next on our TBR list? Subscribe to us on YouTube or follow us on Instagram for a sneak peek at upcoming content or to help us pick our next book.
Dear sweet readers, I had a moment, and that has led us to backup plan B for the pod. So what had happened was we recorded a mid-season review for you all. And we recorded this quite some time ago. And myself, in my overexcitement to clean up my computer, deleted all of our project files. And so now we are here on the Sunday before our episode post, re-recording. So welcome to a brand new episode. Here we are. Another preface for this episode, readers, is we are recording remotely.
But it's okay. I have my guest cat sitting behind me because she refused to be, relocated for recording.
Oh,
So
sweet
everything.
Moo Moo.
Yep,
I love that your cat's name is Moo Moo.
Yeah, it's funny too because she's gone through so many name iterations. So when we adopted her, and her name was Osiris, and this cat is like the cutest anime eyes, white and black, fluffy. Like if you had a 13-year-old girl draw a cat, that's what this cat looks like.
So definitely not an Osiris.
Yeah, not, goddess of the dead, really. So now she became Moo Moo, like a cow, except now we just call her Princess Jumi for some reason.
Oh my God.
Yeah, we're graced with royalty during this episode.
Well, that's fitting, considering everything that we're hoping to touch on for this week. Bridgerton has arrived. I liked your take on Bridgerton as a gateway drug to other romance. Like your romance is a pure genre rather than the fantasy romance we kind of default to.
Yeah, because I feel like we kind of had opposite trajectories almost. Because I really haven't read that much straight romance, but I think after Bridgerton came out and I read those books, I've read a lot more romance than I ever thought I would.
Well, especially historical romance, because romance as a genre is so massive.
Mm-hmm.
And there's so many different weird categories underneath it all. I'd say Regency is probably the most approachable because it's the closest to fairy tale land.
Oh, I could see that. I just thought it was the most approachable because it's not set with a billionaire boyfriend. I guess it kind of is, actually. Now that I say that.
Talking about that song that's going around for the summer, I Want a Guy in Finance.
That's literally Mr. Darcy.
That's Mr. Darcy. He's 6'5", blue eyes.
Oh, because I forgot to tell you, I tried to read Anna Huang, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Billionaire boyfriend Huang.
Oh, that's the one you were talking about. That's very dark.
I think it was. Yeah, the first one. I think it's Twisted Love or Twisted Games. Mm-hmm. One of those ones. And girl, I could not fucking do it.
I haven't even tried.
Oh my, don't bother. It felt see, it's hard because my fan fiction girlies get it, but the Wattpad era where it was just really not well written fan fiction by 13-year-old girls of these absolutely astronomical situations that would never happen. That's what this book felt like. And I was like, oh no, why is this so bestsellery? I do not understand.
I think I have a few samples downloaded from that author, and I haven't been able to get past page 1.
Yeah, it was real bad because the first scene immediately is it's raining and she gets stuck somewhere and she calls her brother and he's like, oh, I'll have a friend pick you up. And of course it's somehow a 26-year-old billionaire who started his own startup tech company and he's really smart, but he's also angry at the world. And it's just, these people don't exist like that in real life. Yeah. So that was an adventure that I will not probably pick back up at any time.
Oh, no. So
Yeah.
our the pod does have limits, I guess, for what we're willing to cover for particular heroines.
Honestly, that is pretty crazy when you think about that, like, how far we made it into that Opal Rain book or whatever, the
Oh,
monster
that's
one.
true. Oh my god.
Yeah,
I blocked that one out.
that's fair. That was probably one of the more traumatizing moments of our podcast adventure.
No, let's not go back to that one. But
No.
yeah, that was rough. But
Yeah,
we've
yeah, it
done some
was.
we've done some good ones so far this year. I mean,
Mhm.
I think we can all agree best books of the year, we have 6 more months to go. Bride, Allie Hazelwood, we've done 2 of her books so far this year. But
Allie
Bride,
Hazelwood is just chef's kiss, phenomenal.
yeah, there's no question, like, when we were making this list of our favorite books so far, like, obviously that one, like, the pacing, the characterization, just the setting alone, like, it's hard to transition from, like, pure romance to, like, paranormal romance or whatever this book falls into, but she did it, and she did it
Really
so
well.
well. Yeah, 'cause seriously, how many times have you read it?
I'm probably up to 3 or 4 now,
Oh my god.
honestly. Or like 3 in a skim, you know?
Yeah.
'Cause I do distinctly remember reading it and then not even 2, 3 days later reading it again.
Yeah, that tracks.
It just itches a scratch, you know what I mean?
Mhm. And another
Ugh.
one that kinda surprised us this year was Slaying the Vampire Conqueror.
Oh, yeah, by,
Carissa.
Carissa Broadbent?
Mhm.
Yeah, that was like, by the cover, you would be like, "This is the hokiest shit I don't think I can read this," and then all of a sudden, it's, like, really good and dark and kinda spooky, but, like, real.
Yeah. It's interesting because Carissa Broadbent is one of those authors where you either love her or hate her, like, there's no real in between. Like,
I could see
I've
that.
dived down the fantasy romance subreddit, and it's just you're either recommending Carissa Broadbent right next to Sarah J. Maas, or you're like, "Nope, I couldn't even finish any of her books." So, I'm curious what's an underlying trend of some of these authors that either speaks to, like, one group rather than another group of readers.
I know, 'cause, like, honestly, like, if you like Sarah J. Maas, I would be surprised if you didn't like Carissa Broadbent, 'cause I almost think they're friends in real life, but,
Mhm.
I they're so similar, like
Yeah, it's the Marvel universe of
Yeah.
fantasy romance. Like, okay, here's Ant-Man and the Wasp,
Yep.
and then here's Iron Man. Here you go, have fun. Like,
Yep, literally. Because I also don't really know what you wouldn't like about her books, like, especially if you like fantasy romance tropes and the
yeah, if
things that
that's
they
your
do.
default genre.
Yeah, that's so odd to me. I almost wanna read the dissertations that people leave on Reddit sometimes.
Right. You get sucked in for hours. What
Honestly.
was your favorite book that we didn't do as, like, a pod book that you really
Oh
enjoyed?
gosh. I don't know. Bride was obviously just by the number of times that I read it in such a
Mhm.
short period was 100%. But I have been obsessed with this fan fiction, honestly. It's a rewrite of all the Harry Potter books, but told from Draco Malfoy's perspective.
Oh, this one. Okay, I
Yep.
remember.
And they have him sorted into Gryffindor, and it's super slow burn, but it's written so well. Like, it gives you the nostalgia again of, like, reading the Harry Potter books, but the plot is just different enough that you, like, aren't really sure what's gonna happen. And this lady, whoever the chick that has written this, there's no way she's not a published author or, like, could do that, but just chooses not to. Like, woman is Wonder Woman, I swear.
You need to do some internet sleuthing and see if you can find her. Because what's the name of this fan fiction?
It's called Lionheart, and it's written by Green Teacup. I
Well,
don't
that's
know.
fucking
Adorable?
adorable.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
know. But it's so cute. It's really good, like, slow burn, and it's really long, and I've talked to Jordan and probably, the readers a couple times about this, but the nice thing about fan fiction is you're not buying anything, and if you don't like it, you just close the tab and find something else. So it's very low threat because 'cause I'm kind of in this, like, reading slump right now. So it's been my little, updates every Friday, so I get a little zing of energy before the weekend.
That's a good yeah, that is something that can bring you out of a slump because I'm feeling it too, and I'm wondering if it's just we've kind of overdosed ourselves on reading maybe, thus why we're branching out into, like, Pride and Prejudice as a
Yep.
movie. But
I can see that.
I found something well, I rediscovered something that is like the sister to fan fiction.
Hmm.
So I found this probably 15 years ago. Um, yeah,
OG times.
thanks, Katie. Appreciate that. So an author I've talked about a lot on like picks of the week is S.L. Vale. She wrote Blade Dancer. She wrote as Lynn Vale, she wrote Evermore, which was another pick of the week. But she's an author that has produced or written a ton of short stories and novellas that she has posted for free on her website. And
Whoa.
she did it when she was just starting out, like, she only had 1 book out, maybe 2, and even before then, and she wrote a whole, like, article about it as a mechanism to draw readers in, and, like, "I'm a writer, I'm gonna write no matter what, so why not share what I'm writing? Because I can't publish everything."
Mhm.
And it's worked for her, like, enormously well. So there's a short story that she's written that I have probably read 5 times. It's called
Oh my god.
it's so good. It's, like, 70 pages long. It's called A Diversity of Houses, and it's basically like a Cinderella story, but set on an alien planet, and they're all 6 foot, 7 foot blue aliens.
Why does
I know.
this just feel like,
Mm,
Ice Planet Barbarians?
I know, maybe just a little bit, but it's super cute and, like, it's a short story self-published, like, she didn't do a lot of editing, if any, so there's errors in there, but even this stuff that hasn't made it through, like, the whole publishing process, an editor, posted for free, it's amazing. So, like, I don't understand how some of this trash gets published.
Honestly. And it's crazy too, because like kind of a big thing in fan fiction right now is that people want to put them on Goodreads so that they can track which ones they've read and not. And a lot of authors are against it because it's like it hasn't gone through. Oh, they like don't have a whole team of editors and like a publisher to, tweak it and to make it fit like an actual market. And it's fair, but then it's like you have these books that do have all that and they're still like trash. It's
I
like, well, wait a second.
why? Who does this author know in the publishing world or I don't know, what
Honestly.
influencer can they get a hold of? It's kind of disheartening actually.
That's how I feel because there was a lot of drama. I feel like you probably saw the Instagram posts about Light Lark. It
I
was
have
like
seen the book come up. I haven't heard about any drama.
yeah, it was like this was probably a couple months ago now, but she paid a lot of money or was like had a really good marketing team because there was all kinds of hype for this book. And then it came out and people are like, what the fuck is
Is
this?
it that bad?
Yeah, it
Oh,
was, like,
no.
really bad, and so it has, like, a 3.5, 3.4 rating on Goodreads, which is, like that's pretty low for, like, a
That's
Bookstagram, Book
yeah.
Talk book. Yeah.
Anything with, like, a remotely fantasy romance-esque cover generally has, like, "Oh, 4 stars because I have friends."
Yep, literally, so it's interesting that that one, like, she came out strong on the marketing, and then people actually held her accountable.
Mhm.
'Cause
Wow.
there's definitely some of those books that I'm like, "Ugh." But
What is
your, novella thing reminded me of that's how I got into ACOTAR, like,
Oh, yeah,
10
because
years ago.
it was in a magazine, right?
Yeah, it was like this was probably 2007, 2008, and I distinctly remember it was the summer, like, middle school probably, and we had our family computer, and I saw on, like, Teen Vogue, I'm pretty sure, like, one of those teen magazines, that there was this new book coming out, and so to help hype it up, they were releasing these novellas for free, and, like, they had, like, drop dates, and you could read them for free from the website, and it was the what is it called now? The Assassin's Blade or something, but it was
Mhm.
those 4 novellas, and I, like, read them on our, like, home computer, and my brother would be like, "I wanna go in the computer," and I'm like, "I'm reading my book."
I mean, successful because, I mean, look at it now.
I know, so it's crazy to think that that was at one point free on the internet.
Yeah, and,
Yeah,
I
it's
mean,
wild.
good of, like, Sarah J. Maas to, like, do something like that, as well as her, like, marketing team, because
Honestly.
it's hard to compete, especially when you have such good fanfic writers out there.
Mhm, honestly. But that was, like, my gateway into fantasy because well, for fantasy romance, because I feel like before that, it was pretty, like, YA fantasy. There might be a love interest, but not
Like
really.
PG rated.
Yeah,
There's a
like
hint of
the
it.
the, like, TV shows and movies that came out in that
Mhm.
era where it's like, "We're gonna hint at romance, but that is not the main theme here."
So we've kind of compiled a like best gateway fantasy romance list for you all, dear readers. One of these books we're actually going to do with Rob. He's coming
I'm
back.
so excited.
So something to look forward to. Pretty summer-ish, late summer-ish, I would
Yeah,
say,
mhm.
is we are going to be reading Howl's Moving Castle, and we'll probably talk about the book too, or sorry, about the movie, because 'cause they're
You can't
both
not talk about the
yeah, no,
movie.
they're both amazing. For one, the storyline is similar across both. They really
Mhm.
stay true to it, but Christian Bale as the voice of Howl, come on.
My soul leaves my body every time I hear that man like, "Oh, there you are. I've been looking for you," or whatever he says at the
Oh, yeah,
beginning. I'm like,
that quote. Yeah, it's amazing.
"Ah!"
And so we are planning to talk about Howl with Rob in a slightly inebriated tea party setting.
Hell yeah. It's gonna be like Bridgerton dresses and, spiked teacups, so
Yeah, I'm gonna break out my great-grandmother's china, and we are going to put nothing but alcohol in those cups.
I love the fact that Jordan has a, like, actual tea set that we're going to use. I'm a little bit nervous though, because like, oh my god, I would die if I dropped
Nah,
any of those
you
cups.
know what? You can't like, why have stuff if you're not planning to use it? I don't have stuff just to sit in the shelf.
That is true. I like that was a very, like, "Oh, that's a
Yeah.
good life take." Because I for
With
sure need one of those, like, plastic, like, teacups that you get for, like, 4-year-olds.
So my partner to this day keeps like a plastic cup in our cupboard because he refuses to use some of my glass cups because he's afraid he's gonna break them.
That's
Like,
fair.
there's always another cup. We can just buy
I don't
another
know.
one.
That's totally reasonable on his part,
I know.
honestly. I'm like, I feel like I need to do that.
It'll
Oh
be fun.
gosh.
And then
Mhm.
so some other books that we've actually already talked about on the pod is
Yeah.
Daughter of the Forest, which I think that's like the best if you are pure like a fantasy purist and you read
Yeah.
like Terry Goodkind and Terry Brooks and like George R. Martin. Daughter of the Forest by Juliette Marillier is like that is your only answer as a gateway drug into fantasy romance.
100%. 'Cause it's written almost the same way as, like, pure fantasy is written, but then it has these, like, romance, like, thread lines or tropes in it that aren't so overpowering that you, like, lose the fantasy aspect, but it's just subtle enough to, like, whet your palate and be like, "Oh, I'm kinda, like, intrigued by this whole, like, romantic-y thing." Like,
Mhm.
let me dabble a little bit."
And if you are new to reading, I mean, come on. ACOTAR,
I know,
gateway
honestly.
drug.
Yeah, because I feel like we've talked about it too, but I feel like ACOTAR has kind of, like, started or ignited this, like, reading renaissance. Because I mean, everybody and their mom is reading ACOTAR or has read ACOTAR or is, like, starting X, Y, and Z fantasy romance because they read ACOTAR or everyone was talking about it.
I think so. ACOTAR is having like a very similar trajectory as Twilight and 50 Shades of Grey had back in like the late 2000s, early 2010s.
I think
Because I, and I say this because I'm pretty sure my mom's going to ask me for a copy of ACOTAR. Because
oh
that's what
god.
happened with Twilight.
I could see that, yeah. I mean, they're, like, republishing them. 'Em, they're everywhere now, like, you can't even walk into any kinda store and not see frickin' 87 copies of ACOTAR.
If you can find the book on a Walmart like bestseller shelf and Target, like it's for
Yeah,
everyone. Welcome
yep,
to fantasy romance.
honestly, yeah. The only thing my, like, gripe with it is, though, is I think it's given kind of, like, unwarranted fame to Fourth Wing and, like, Rebecca Yarros, because, like, those are not equivalent books, but everybody has been, like, treating them like it, and it's like, "Honey,
There
nice try."
and you and I have talked. that we are willing to maybe consider trying getting through Fourth Wing this year instead of just reading the sample?
It's gonna take a god-like amount of willpower, but maybe.
I'm sure they're
Yeah.
very much like Carissa Broadbent's books. There's gotta be a reason why people stick with this book and are so excited about, the second book and the third book because there was this huge frenzy when Barnes& and Noble leaked the third book's publication date and the title.
Yeah,
Did you
I
hear about
remember
that?
that. Yeah.
People lost their goddamn minds, like, it's not even out yet.
I know. I know, because it is interesting. Because I saw a couple of things. I feel like now that it's been out for a while, actual opinions are kind of, like, prevailing or rising to the top, but there was a lot of people who said that it was basically not well done and they didn't like it until the very end of the second book. So, I don't
Then
know if.
that's not a good book. Like, if it
Exactly.
can't stand alone, like, mm,
Yeah. It's like, I'm not gonna read through this whole, like, shitstorm to get to, like, the 5 good pages, like, I don't have
n
time for that.
not worth it.
No. But maybe one day we will get drunk enough to continually finish that book. It would be like a 3-day bender.
We could try reading some lines out loud during our,
I I would lose it. Just the whole, like, 35-pound backpack
Oh
after
my
6 months
god.
of hardcore training,
We've
I.
carried groceries heavier than that.
Thank
Please.
you! Like, kids are heavier than that, you know
Going
what I
to
mean?
Costco is heavier than that.
Honestly, oh my god.
Dude, I have to put my whole body behind turning the Costco cart sometimes just to get around the aisles.
I feel that because 'cause you're also a very petite woman, so I can only imagine. Yeah.
Anyway, gateway fantasy romance. There's one other book I wanted to talk about on this list, and jump in if you have another book as well, but this is what for me, I think was the actual gateway into fantasy romance in general, and I started
Mm.
real young, like elementary school, because I think
Aw.
I was in 4th or 5th grade when I don't know who recommended it, if I found it at a library. It's a Newbery Award winner, so, like, librarians everywhere are probably like, "Hey, little girl, take this book. It's got healthy
Aw.
relationships in it." So, Ella Enchanted by Gail Carson Levine.
Aw.
It is very much a children's book. It's meant for probably that, advanced 8, 9-year-old to maybe 12,
Mhm.
but it's Cinderella in a fantasy setting. It's first person, you get Ella's perspective, and it's fantasy romance. There's ogres, there's curses, there's fairies, there's Prince Charming. Like, I think his name is
Aw.
Char, Prince Char. So, uh,
No relation to Prince Charming.
no, it is a little dated. I think it came out in the 90s or late 80s, so it's probably past the, like, always recommended to kids book list, but this was a true gateway drug for me, and it's amazing. Like, I could still read it as an adult. It's that cute.
Oh, yeah, it was a movie with Anne Hathaway?
Terrible, don't watch the movie.
Well,
Absolutely terrible.
poor Anne Hathaway.
I know, it's probably yeah, just pretend like that movie doesn't exist.
That's fair, because that's funny because she was just in a movie, The Idea of You. Have you seen the, like.
Yes, I've read a lot about that movie and about the book.
Okay, because 'cause isn't it based off of, like, a Harry Styles One Direction
Fan
fan
fiction.
fiction? Okay,
Yeah, it sure is.
yeah. I love that we're moving into this era of just, like, publishing fan fiction.
It I've heard that the ending of the movie is different from the book in a better
Oh.
way. I don't know if that's true because I was skimming the
Yeah.
article I was reading about it, but I think it was an article in the New Yorker that really praised the movie and Anne Hathaway's portrayal as this, like, people-pleasing mom, but it really glorifies the hot mom figure.
I know. She looks insane for, like, not how old she is, because she's obviously not old at all, but I mean, like, she doesn't look any different than she did when she was, like, 20 years old. Like, what are you drinking?
So, I guess that's kind of my beef. It's not the storyline itself because obviously the whole, like, older woman, younger man relationship is a whole trope by itself and it's very popular. I love that in a K-drama, but for someone like Anne Hathaway to try and portray a character that's supposed to be immensely relatable to, like, women in their 40s who are moms who are overtasked overtaxed and overworked. It just there's a line between fantasy and a line between, like, it has to be relatable, and I just obviously, any 23, 24-year-old Harry Styles figure is gonna find Anne Hathaway hot, and, like, if they don't, like, what's wrong with them?
Obviously, we all do. That's interesting. I didn't think about that because I feel like that was kind of the problem with since I'm obviously a Harry Potter nerd, the problem with that scene when Hermione comes down the stairs at the Ball or whatever is that in the movies, like, obviously, whatever her name is, Emma
Emma
Thompson
Watson
or Emma
Emma
Watson.
Watson?
I'm
Okay.
fucking up all of these names. She's, like, obviously, like, stunningly beautiful, so it's, like, one of those, like, "Oh, she got dressed up. Cool." But in the books, it's, like, this pivotal moment for, like, the nerdy,
Mhm.
13-year-old who, gets to dress up and look pretty for the first time. So it isn't interesting that, like, sometimes these Hollywood portrayals kinda take away from the actual messaging of, you know, everybody it's relatable, like
Yeah. Sure, it's okay for, like, an older woman and a younger man to be together, as long as they're both the most beautiful people on the planet.
Yeah, they both look like they're probably within 5 years of each other, like
Yeah, and, like, the type
Ugh.
of like, the amount of money and time and effort it takes to maintain, like, any of that, right?
Yeah,
Um, yeah, I don't know. So, are you gonna watch it or read it?
I don't know. I'm not really, like, a movie person, let alone, like, romance movie person. I like a good rom-com, but other than that, I'm like, "Oh, this is a little bit, like, cringy."
I think my problem with some movies now is that it's not enough time to feel like the characters have been developed, and maybe we've just been gotten spoiled on some of these longer TV shows that we like to watch, like The Glory, for example, or Crash Landing on You. Like, you really get to know all of the characters and you see their character growth. How much character growth can you see in, like, 2.5 hours or 2 hours?
Mhm. Honestly, because even sometimes with TV shows, like Bridgerton, like, I get that this 3rd season was just the 4 episodes, and they're gonna have 4 more episodes, but it almost didn't feel like enough time for Penelope to really have this kind of dramatic, like, character arc of, going from someone that's really uncomfortable in the wallflower to someone that's, like, making her way in society. Like, even that felt too rushed, and that's, like, what, 4.5 hours? Like
Yeah, I and maybe it all comes down to, like, good screenplays, good, like, writing in general,
Mhm.
and good actors, because a really good actor can take a shitty script and make it believable.
Honestly, because I was just thinking about this, about the Twilight movies, and then we wanted to rewatch, Divergent. Did you ever watch those or read those books?
Yes, I loved Divergent, the book. I thought the movie was okay, but it didn't compare.
Yeah, because the book like, the first book was like, "Whoa, what is
I
this? This is good."
I pretend that the 3rd book doesn't exist.
Oh,
Actually, the
we all do.
2nd book, like,
It's like,
what?
"No, those are fake."
Yeah.
But it's like, I feel like that movie didn't get the kind of I can't even think of the right word, not dedication, but when they were writing it, they're like, "Oh, this is just a teen girl movie, like, we don't really have to give this the depth and life that it needs, like, they're gonna eat it up anyways," like a money grab almost, and I feel like
Yeah.
Twilight was a little bit like that. It's like, "No, I need someone that believes in this."
That's actually a really good that's a really good point because you can tell when it's just, "Oh, Hollywood's dumping money into, good CGI and effects and good costumes," like
Mhm.
Hunger Games, for example.
Yeah. But it's like, I want them to actually believe in, the love that 13 to 27 to 34, year old women love about these books and these storylines instead of just kind of like giving it the, once over money treatment and being like, okay, that's good.
That's disappointing.
Because I feel like that's what will or might happen with the ACOTAR.
Oh, yeah. So, here's the thing, I suspect ACOTAR, if it becomes a TV show, is going to be better than the books.
Really?
Yeah.
That's a hot take. I
Well,
don't know if you
because
know this, but that's a wild.
Because Feyre is so bland as a character, like, reading her, like, she is meant to be like Bella,
Yeah.
just shell. And I think it's impossible to portray a shell on TV. You have to take it in one direction or another.
That's
And
true.
so maybe it'll be more at least Feyre as a character will be more likable on the screen.
Ugh.
Oh, do you remember a few months ago we did the quiz that shall not be named except on this pod?
Yeah, that give you a existential crisis.
And you as well, don't leave,
That's true,
yourself out of
honestly.
that. So readers, I challenge you, we challenge you to take a BuzzFeed quiz, and it is which female character from ACOTAR, the whole series, are you? And what did you get, Katie? You just wanna share that
I
little
got
tidbit?
I feel kinda sweaty because I feel like mine was actually, like, maybe a little bit true, but I got Nesta, and it was something about you're a bitch, but in a good way, where you're aggressive about your opinions and you do not
Direct
care
and blunt.
what yeah. It's like I have more than my fair share of that a little bit, I will I will say. But Jordan's is, like, existential crisis worthy.
I did not appreciate this. Like, I even gamed my answers like, "Okay, I know what I need to do to get this," because you and I both wanted to get Amren, because
Yeah,
who wouldn't wanna be Amren?
100%.
And I got Elaine.
It's still funny to me.
Like, yes, I have doilies and, like, teacups, but, like, that does not make me an Elaine.
I know, because especially if you were, like, not trying to get Amarin, but that's, like, the antithesis of Elaine. Like, they're opposite ends of the spectrum.
Maybe BuzzFeed took a peek inside my soul and saw something I never share with the world, but I don't feel like an Elaine. So, yeah.
I
I'd
don't
be
know, I
curious
feel
what our
like
readers get.
yeah, I feel like appearance-wise, you're 100% in Elaine.
I don't know how
Jordan
I
is
feel
giving
about
me
that.
the most aggressive side eye.
Which is significant since we're doing this with a webcam.
Honestly, the skill that required. But I
Thank
just mean,
you.
like, blonde, petite, like, bubbly seeming, like, has teacups and
Okay,
adorable
we're done.
nonsense.
We're done, Nesta, alright? You can just keep all of those opinions to yourself.
That's fair. I know, I'm kind of embracing my Nesta right now.
Yes, you are. Oh my
Ooh.
goodness. Well, maybe that's a good point for us to kinda wrap up our mid-season,
Yes.
and we have some housekeeping items to kind of walk you all through before we take a break, because we need to
Yes.
take a break.
Yeah. We are going to undertake probably like a 3-week break-ish. And you're probably like, why do you guys not know how many weeks? And it is because I am going to push a human out of my hoo-ha.
I was not
And
expecting that.
I have been told that, it's just on their schedule and the recovery is on their schedule and you just are along for the ride. So probably like 3 weeks, but we could also see, there's
Yeah,
some
we're just gonna see, and
yeah,
yeah. But, readers, I just want you to appreciate that Katie is carrying a human the size of a pumpkin attached to her right now, and
that
you
I
are
am.
a few weeks away.
That I am. I don't know if any of our readers have kids, but this has been a experience and I think it's one that I'm not going to do again. Like kind of one
It
of those
has
one and done.
certainly deterred me forever,
Yeah, 'cause I'm
because
just
you have been
sweaty all the
suffering
time.
for months.
Yep, yep, just really sweaty and vomity, but it's fine, the miracle of
Everything's
life.
fine.
Yeah, but once
So
we return, we are going to have the three-course meal that is The Familiar by Lee Bardugo.
that's true. We did so I was doing some of our edits on a few episodes back and realized that we had planned to do The Familiar a little bit earlier before our mid-season review, and we just didn't want to. And that's kinda how these episodes shake out. So we have both read The Familiar. I'm sorry that we promised you some Familiar episodes. They're coming. They'll just be a little bit later. So if you haven't read it yet, now's your opportunity. It will take you a while. It's worth it. It's just a little long.
Yeah. And, like, Yeah, it comes with the caveat that it was enjoyable and it was well written and it was good and it was, like, nourishing, but it's also one of those, like, Italian nine-course meals where everything is cooked in some kind of, like, cream or wine reduction sauce, and you're like, "I just, like, ingested 9,000 calories, and I am going to go lie down." That is The Familiar.
I couldn't describe it better. You absolutely need to pause and digest each course as you progress through
Yes.
this book. So, yes, The Familiar is coming, along with Howl's Moving Castle, and Rod is
Ah,
returning,
mhm.
and he
There's
will
so
have
much stuff I'm excited for.
he will bring probably an extra dose of snark because it has been so long since he has joined us on the pod. So that will
Mhm.
be fun for everyone. Are we,
Absolutely.
are we missing any little things before we wrap up?
I don't think so,
Mm.
except a big giant thank you to our readers because all of a sudden people started listening to our podcast.
It's wild to us because we're a little obsessive, and we like to check our download numbers and our reader numbers almost every day.
I was about
Uh,
to say it's my, like, morning schedule now.
yeah, I'm like, "I need a little pick me up." Ooh, people listen to us. So
Wow.
so, again, thank you for sticking with us if you've been with us from the beginning. Thank you for joining us whenever you have joined us, and we promise to return with much more.
Mhm. Our little nerd adventure.
I love that. Welcome to the nerd adventure, readers.
The best ride to be on.
Well, from our shelf to yours.
We'll see you on the next page.
Hi, readers. If you'd like to help us pick our next book, send us a message on Instagram.
Or if you'd like to just listen, we post new episodes every Monday and Wednesday on Spotify, Apple, and Amazon. Thanks for listening.
Bussin'.
So you've seen Bridgerton Part 1. I have
Mhm.
not yet
I don't know
ventured
how
into it.
you're like, you're the queen of
Uh,
self-restraint.
well,
It
not
dropped,
really.
and I was immediately like,
I hate
"Anyways."
Colin. I hate Colin so much.
I do too. So, we were talking about this earlier. I think that he got a nose job or, like, some kind of plastic surgery because he looks different.
One would think that would help improve his face, but
He just looks oh, okay, so this is gonna sound kind of fucked up, but he kinda looks like a skull, like, when you see it, you'll be
okay,
like,
I need to
"Oh."
look at him now.
Yeah. He kinda looks like there's some kind of, like, cowboy character that doesn't have a nose in some
Oh,
kind
from,
of
Fallout? The new Fallout show?
probably? I don't know, I keep seeing, like, Instagram videos, but I don't know. Fallout cowboy with no nose? Yes, this guy! Oh my god. This is what Colin looks like in this season.
That's so that's super harsh, Katie, because that character has been dead for, like, 200 years, technically. They're like a zombie.
You know, I'm not the biggest fan of Colin, so I actually don't feel bad.
Hmm. I
You
mean,
know?
if anything, that kinda tracks because he was supposed to go on a world or, like, a continental tour, right, and
Mhm.
travel, and he's returned.
Yeah, 'cause he, like, comes back with his, like, glow up or whatever, but they didn't have plastic surgery back then, like, come on, my guy.
No.
That's a
I
step
read
too far.
I love Penelope as a character, though, and
Oh, yes.
just her general I mean, she's Lady Whistledown, how can you not love her? But I read a really interesting article about her character, and, they did a comparison to a very old movie, She's All That. Do you remember that movie? Freddie Prinze Jr., I
Yes.
forget who the chick is.
Yeah! Oh my god, yeah!
So,
Whoa.
they compared Penelope's makeover to the girl's makeover from that movie, and it was interesting because they said that despite, like, having better clothes and having her hair done and having more control, and outwardly she looks, more put together and phenomenal. I mean, she's a beautiful woman, but she's still struggling with that inward self-confidence and all those insecurities, and that is hindering her shift into society.
Mhm. That's I mean, they have super similar story arcs because, I mean, I kinda feel like that's how the girl was in She's All That, like, she was just kind of super awkward, and it's funny 'cause they the actress that plays Penelope, what is her name? Like, Nicola Copeland or
Coughlin or
something?
yeah, or some yeah, she's
Coughlin?
in
Yeah.
Dairy Girls.
Yeah, she is incredible in this season. Like, it's funny because I saw she did some late night interview or something. She was like, "Oh, yeah," joking, obviously, and she's like, "Oh, yeah, I had to, like, turn my Riz off when I'm, like, doing these embarrassing scenes." But it's so funny because you see her, like, shift from this, like, super awkward you get secondhand embarrassment while you're watching her flirt with guys, and then all of a sudden she turns the Riz on, and you're like, "God damn, okay, Penelope, like, get it, girl."
Now I know what I may be watching tonight if it's that
100%.
good.
Yeah.
Okay.
There are some people that are waiting until the second half drops to start it, and I'm like, "I don't have that kind of willpower, dude." Like,
I'm tempted to wait, but only because I have so many K-dramas I'm watching right now.
you're like, "I'm already watching, like, the K version of Bridgerton." Like, I'd
I'm curious because my close friend also watched part 1, and so this is the friend that introduced me to Bridgerton when we were, like, 12. So she read the books first, and then she's like, "You need to read these." And then that started me, on this journey to hell. So
a hell slide, if you will.
yeah. So her take was very similar to yours, which is like Colin is ew and Penelope is amazing. And if you can just look past all of that, you're fine. Just keep watching, turn your brain off.
Yeah, basically. Because I will say, I feel like Colin in the book is worse than Colin in these episodes. Because, like, in the book, I just got the impression that, like, it was one of those all of a sudden he sees her in a new light and he's like, "Oh my god, I've been an idiot." But I feel like for in, like, the seasons and, like, the TV show, they did it a little bit more where it's still kind of that, like, wake up and he's like, "Oh, I've been an idiot. I love Penelope." But it's almost, like, a little bit more understandable in the TV
Mm.
show.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because in the book, it's very much Penelope's like a target of convenience for him.
Yeah.
Like
That's
he
what I
doesn't he doesn't have to try. She's just there and has been
yeah.
there his entire life.
Yeah. I forgot how heated I got during that book
Yeah.
because it's like Penelope deserves more.
Oh.
Oh gosh, but they introduced a secondary love interest, like someone she gets with kinda sorta before Colin, and it's hard because I almost feel like she would've been happier with him than with Colin. A hot take, but Penelope
Hmm.
deserves more. She
She
deserves
does.
better.
She's too smart of a character, too driven of a character to settle for Colin.
It was also interesting because I feel like they were kinda setting up like a bisexual lesbian relationship between Eloise and who's the snotty girl with the tight hair?
Something Cowper. What's
Oh,
her name?
Cressida. I feel
That
like
would be
Rhonda
it.
Rhimes is probably like, "You guys are not gonna believe this."